The presidential fitness test is a test of endurance. Do you remember that?
No. What? No, there's a presidential fitness. I guess they have. Wait. No.
You've never heard of the presidential fitness test?
Well, I know. I would assume it's a thing.
Yeah. So, like, when I was in grade school, and even in high school, like, we had to take what was called the presidential fitness test. And
this is a thing that you had to take, not the actual president.
No. It was an actual, like, in school kind of thing.
But it was like decreed that this is a fitness test that is. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pulling out my kickstand.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
it's hard to find.
Secondly, it's like decreed that this is of the caliber of the president of the United States.
Or it is something that the president has decreed.
What year was this?
The presidential fitness test has been around since like 1954.
Okay, so this is not...
I did it like every other year until I was in high school.
Okay.
And then I had to do it when I was in ROTC for 1 year.
54.
So it's over 50 years old. This test. So you never had to do it.
It wasn't Truman. Who was... No, that was immediately after FDR.
Right.
Who was that? Eisenhower?
Maybe. Down. You're trying
to not look at it, but plug in a laptop at the same time, or a Surface at the same time.
Yeah.
So
here, I'll look up the presidential fitness test.
So as you're looking this up, though, you had to do sit-ups, push-ups, and all this kind of stuff?
Sit-ups, push-ups, and then you had to do, like, your endurance run, which was, like, do you remember, did you never have to do the run with the beeps? Where you had to, like, run across the gym in the amount of time before it beeped, and then you just kept going until, like, you missed 2 beeps or whatever?
No. I went to school in New York, so it's probably a bit more different than... where you went to school in Texas, right?
Yeah. Presidential fitness test. Let's see. The President's Challenge was an American program promulgated by the President's Council of Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition that aimed to encourage all Americans to make being active part of their everyday lives and to be physically fit. The President's Challenge was introduced by Lyndon B. Johnson in 1966.
It
was Johnson.
I was
Wait,
I was off. President? You said 54?
Yeah, I thought it was 54.
Was that Eisenhower?
Let me check. Who was...
Is my presidential knowledge on par? Maybe. Hopefully. I don't have presidential knowledge, but I'd like to put off some kind of
It's Eisenhower. Yeah,
hey!
You were right. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Nice. No, that was good. But no, that's what the beeps remind me of. By the way, welcome to the Roasto, everybody.
Roasto.
We are back. The Halloween episode just went out as of this coming Friday when we're recording this, so this is after.
Scary?
I think it was a mix of of scary. It was thrilling. Let me put it that way.
Entertaining.
Yes, it was. I think so. But that for us, you and I, goes out in like 2 days.
Because it's all staggered.
Yeah, and then this will be coming out afterwards. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know. We had a lot of fun recording that. I slaved over that podcast.
Thank you for doing that. By the way, thanks for you put on all the editing work for everything.
Well, I only say that. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I say I slaved over it because I didn't know how to like weave the stories together, and like I sat in here trying to like do voices and stuff to like. And then, like, change my pitch and stuff. And then eventually I have just settled on the fact that I was like, hi, I'm Imaginary Friend Jack, and we're going to do this because all of it sounds so dumb. Like, I started talking, like, deep and gruff. And then I put a pitch on it, and it just made me sound sick. It made me sound like I've been smoking for 50 years.
Well, if you're dead and you're a ghost or a zombie, you're
it kind of works, yeah. I don't know.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be offensive to zombies.
I think we can be offensive to zombies. I mean,
Wow.
We only because we have to. We shoot them in the head.
Never be offensive to anybody.
I mean, that's
including
true.
zombies.
Okay, zombie rights, got it. I mean, I just feel like if we're gonna shoot them in the head, you know.
But not in Return of the Living Dead.
In Return of the Living Dead, what did they do?
You had to burn them, but when you burn them,
oh, that's right.
Then it then was the rain. You couldn't get rid of them. That's why they put them in those big containers.
Right. Weren't they like shipping containers?
They were storage. Like they were drums, but they had the little window because you couldn't. You had to have a window.
You
for
had
a
to
movie.
be able to see it. You know.
And then the guy melted when they hit it because the military grade drum. He was like, "Check this! This bad boy can hold so many zombies." And then it was like, and then it was everywhere.
Right.
Because remember, they chopped up the guy. He was like the it was all the yellow iodine or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then all the parts were moving, and that was the scariest thing in that movie,
right?
In my opinion, which I love how we got onto Return of the Living Dead somehow, but
it's still a couple days before Halloween.
That movie scares. It's another movie. So we just did a recording. It's not out yet, but it will be out soonish. It's on Scream.
Yeah,
how that was a parody movie.
Yeah.
With some serious stuff in it. Obviously, on its own, it can be scary and whatnot.
Yeah, I think for the time that it came out, we talked about the fact that it was probably scary because it was one of the first movies to flip all the tropes on its head.
But it was still meant to be like kind of like a not a spoof, but a little bit of a commentary, a commentary.
Yeah, on scary movies.
Return of the Living Dead was very similar. It wasn't meant to be super serious in that way,
right.
But it was still.
It took
really
itself seriously.
Yeah.
It's like Shaun of the Dead. Did you ever watch Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah, but that one's more.
It's funny, but it has scary moments.
Yeah, they did a good mix of that.
Yeah, that's like the Scream was like the first like trying to be horror comedy to me.
It?
Well, yes and no. Like that's more of a parody, but it like leads to like.
Is it more of like a serious take, even though it's meant to be a parody?
I mean,
is it the first? I wonder what the first
horror comedy is.
Well, it takes itself seriously enough that on its own, if you didn't know it, you were like, "This is pretty."
It's creepy.
But then you find out it's actually a parody.
Right. I don't know. That's interesting.
Most of them are parodies first.
Right. We'll have to dive into some of that history later. But yeah, no, that was a fun recording. I can't wait to do our next one. I don't know what our next movie is going to be, but probably not something spooky, but just another movie that. Maybe hasn't aged well. We don't know.
I personally have some on the list, but we'll talk about it when we get there. But for Return of the Living Dead, the spookiest part was that when they were like, they had like a pick or something. It was like, you gotta
it's been forever since I've seen
the
this.
brain or something like that.
The brainstem.
Yeah, and then he does it, and it's still alive.
Right.
And it starts freaking out, and you're like, oh, this is gonna get real serious.
This is different from every other, all the other Night of the Living Deads and stuff.
And the brain thing didn't work. They ran, and they also came up with complex plans.
And none of it works.
And none of well, no, the zombies did. Remember they?
That was the first one where the zombies were like.
The guy had that thing. He rigged up this thing to break the door or something, or to open the door.
Right.
And then another zombie called for more. Paramedics, whatever.
Right. Like that was the first one where the zombies were starting to get smarter, and they were like evolving in that series because it was like Night of the Living Dead,
which they were all just slow, dumb, but it was just sheer force of how many there were.
Right, and that one was the commentary on the that was the black and white one that was commentary on Vietnam, and then there was like that was like. A while before, like it was like the 80s or 70s or 80s when Return of the Living Dead and
it was a while, because the original
the original
Living Dead was like 50, 40,
something like
30
that.
Actually. Hold on.
I think it was it wasn't 30s. It was like 60s.
I'm trying to. I think. Why do I think it was 30? Something came out that I'm thinking. I'm.
Yeah. No, but like those movies came.
It's 68.
Yeah.
Wow, I thought it was a lot.
Because it was a comment on Vietnam. Yeah. And like we'd been in the war for a couple years. Yeah. And then like it was also the first one of the first movies to feature like an African American man as like the lead role and like it pushed a lot of boundaries for 68 which was really cool. And then it was like late 70s, early 80s when like the Return of the Living Dead series started to come out. Like I think he had one in between. I think he had Dawn of the Dead, in between them, and then it was Return of the Living Dead, and then Return of the Living Dead 2 and 3. And Return of the Living Dead is the ones where they started getting a little funnier and like less serious.
85 was Return of the Living Dead.
Right. And then like when was Dawn of the Dead, the original? Not the
because there's all the of the dead.
Right. It's because not the 2004 Zack Snyder remake, which when I found out that was Zack Snyder who did that, same guy who did 300, I was like, this makes so much sense now.
It wasn't terrible, but Dawn of the Dead, the original, was 1978.
Okay, so it was Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, which was also scary. And that one was the one.
That was the one with pie. Was it the pie in the face in the mall? Or am I thinking of?
It is the one in the mall. Yeah.
There's like pie in the face jokes and stuff like that with the zombies. There's a little bit more like playfulness with it.
Yeah. It was like the switch, I think. But Dawn of the Dead was still scary from what or like trying to be scary.
Yeah.
And then and that because that one was all about consumerism, and then Return of the Living Dead kind of went off the rails a little bit. And I think Return of the Living Dead 1, 2, and 3. I think that might have been where the pie was. I don't remember though. It's been a while.
Return of the Living Dead. I don't remember how we got on this. We somehow
the way we always do, and that's again that if people haven't gotten that out of this podcast so far, that we get off the rails.
This podcast should have been called Off the Rails.
Off the Rails, yeah. Well, in our description, I say it's pure unfiltered conversation. We never know what we're going to talk about, but we're sure as heck going to talk about it.
Yeah. So, when you sit down in 2036 in your restroom,
right?
And there's no toilet paper, but there's three
seashells. I watched that 2 nights ago.
How do you think the 3 seashells works?
Oh my God. I have actually legitimately debated myself in my brain over the 3 seashells. For those of you who don't know, this is from Demolition Man from like 1993 or 96.
93.
Yeah. And it is on Hulu right now as of this recording, because I watched it on Hulu like 2 or 3 days ago. Oh
Good,
my God.
So you're up to date on this.
Yes.
Because last time we talked about Broken Arrow a bit, but it was like more so like I had just watched it.
Right.
But you were trying to recall.
Remember it because it's been a while. But no, Demolition Man is fresh in my brain. The 3 seashells. Okay. So I've always imagined that it's kind of like a rinse, lather, repeat system.
Oh boy.
Like you pick up the first seashell and that like basically starts like a bidet and it gets it like kind of wet. And then you like second one is
Does
like
it have water in it?
Well, I don't know. Like I think it activates like something in like where you sit. And then like and like it's that and then like the dryer and then like powder.
So they each have their own uses that they start that system up.
It's like cleaning with the first one, like the water and everything. The second one is like a little air dryer or whatever, and then the third one is like a little bit of baby powder or something, just like prevent rashes, or like fresh scent or whatever. Because it's Cocteau's future in that, so everything's peaceful and like supposed to be like clean and perfect or whatever.
Only 30
utopian.
years.
I know. Well, not even 30 years. It's 16 years.
After there's a big earthquake.
In 2010. Yeah.
The resource wars and all that.
Yeah, where every restaurant is now Taco Bell.
Right. So it's 3 seashells is always, I know that I know because I understand it's a film and all that.
Right.
That they had no idea.
It's a mulligan, yeah.
They had no idea.
Or MacGuffin.
Yeah, so they have no idea, but they just put it in there as like a thing.
Right.
And they did a good job with kind of making it be in there.
Yeah, and that last line of the movie. Just, I have one question. How does that damn 3 seashells thing work?
Yep.
Like, I love that they do that.
There are people who have huge, long discussions or their theories on how these things work.
Yeah?
The craziest. Well, you have to think about what, if you want to, why do they have 3 seashells instead of toilet paper?
Right. Well,
Probably because resources. They don't want to
the resource wars and like, They're obviously an economy like based on recycling and like keeping things clean and like
So it's important that it replaces toilet paper, but at the same time, why wouldn't they just use a bidet? Was what I thought.
Exactly. And then you think, when was this movie written? Bidets weren't popular in the U.S. yet, so.
But still, it was a thing that happens in other countries that they have.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess if it was just like a U.S. mindset thing, then they didn't think about it or whatever.
Right, because in the movie, and this is something I actually only picked up recently when I rewatched it because it's been a long time and I was younger and wasn't critically thinking. Although why was I critically thinking about Demolition Man the other night? But Cocteau is having a meeting with world leaders.
Cocteau being the designer of
and one of the villains in the movie, I guess. He's like having a video chat with world leaders about San Angeles, which is now like the Los Angeles, San Francisco megaplex or whatever that's all merged, trying to pitch them the model that he's built. So like the rest of the world doesn't know anything about, like, they just know of this place. They don't know about the peace and harmony, and like they've maybe all still descended into chaos, or they all have their own thing still.
Right.
Like, and then like they all like turn and watch him as he's having this like conversation with Bob.
They're on this like rectangle shaped screen,
right?
And they can turn
with the tiniest little screens.
Yeah. But they can turn it, and so if somebody goes out of view, instead of them being off camera, they can turn the camera to see.
Instead of having multiple cameras in one room that they just automatically can switch between.
Which is really spooky the way that it happens. Yeah. It's just like all these cameras slowly panning over to where you are.
And like, I also love the fact in that movie that it's like their greeting isn't like hello or goodbye. It's be well.
Oh yeah, don't they do a thing where they
oh yeah, because they're not they don't physically
wax
touch
on thing, right? And they just like
they like get like within like a couple centimeters of each other's hands, and they just like, and like when he comes out of like the restroom just before the three seashells thing, which also he like just walks up and like high fives this guy and does like a really like fun little like, you know, whatever fist bump thing.
Yep.
And then like 30 seconds later he says you're out of toilet paper, which means that he has just done his business and then touched this dude who's not used to physical contact.
Oh boy.
With dirty hands.
So he had to use them. But he doesn't know how to use them. So I assume he just scooped is what I assume he did, which is gross. You want to hear the craziest but best thing?
Oh my god, that's so nasty.
I know. That's the only way you have to think of it. It's gross.
Right, and then like he swears into the thingy that gives him credits and that like printout paper.
Yep.
And like that's what he goes back and uses.
Yep.
Oh my god.
So I didn't think about that. He uses his tickets for swearing to use in the restroom.
Yep.
That's cool. I never even put those two things together.
Yeah, he says he grabs him. He goes, he's like, "Be right back," or "So much for the three seashells," or whatever. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So the craziest. You want to hear the craziest, but makes the most sense in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's theory was that when you're sitting down, you're doing your business.
Down.
You have to sit down and show everything. So you're doing your business, right? And you're ready where you would need toilet paper.
Right.
You take two of the seashells. You put them here.
On your belt.
On your belt area, but so you're gonna have to grab the third one. So they have to be able to sit down and without you holding them.
Okay.
They then start this like sonic vibration. Okay. And then they start vibrating, and it goes, and it's like this like controlled. And it points at where, you know,
you need to clean. Okay.
And it's doing this vibration. And then the third one is supposed, you put it somewhere, and it's supposed to like also be like in the back or something. So you have to hold that one on. So the point is that you have to vibrate yourself clean. So they never touch anything gross.
Right.
And it's just supposed to shake everything out.
It's just sonically vibrating your body.
Yes.
Which I guess makes sense as to why no one does adult fun time in the movie too.
Yeah, because everything's just really gross.
Yeah, they don't do fluid contact of any kind or sharing.
I wouldn't want to if I knew that was going on either.
Yeah.
They should have bidets.
They should just have bidets.
Just have a bidet. It's so much better. And you're using water, but the water can be recycled.
Right. And purified and cleaned and all of that. And there's a lot of things in that movie that need to be addressed as like they are plot holes. But at the same time, who cares? It's a Sly Stallone film, you know.
I find it funny that they just made people live underground. They were just like you,
or they like chose
you just
to.
need to go.
Yeah. They
in
like
the sewer.
Mr. Friendly, just go.
Mr. Friendly, who this is actually me ripping this comment off from another review that I saw not too long ago.
Yeah.
Dennis Leary is just doing his stand-up.
He is. Oh my God, he is. Yes. Oh my God. And to think he went on to star in Rescue Me.
It's just they're like, just do your bit.
Yeah. Just do your bit and you'll be fine. And
Yeah.
like, oh my God. You know that reminds me of, and this switches into something that I wanted to bring up today, is the Three Seashells things reminds me of irrational fears. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you, do you have any irrational fears?
Yeah, I do.
And I'll start off by giving you an example.
I guess I have fears. I don't know if they're rational or irrational.
Okay. Well, because I'll give you an example of what I find. Like, I have an irrational fear, and I know it's irrational because I shouldn't be scared of this, but I am.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, public restrooms are a bad idea to me. Like, I think they're a good idea. We need them.
They're
but
gross.
like the design of them is horrible because I have an irrational fear of someone looking through the gap in the stall door,
right?
You know, and just judging me.
It's like,
yeah, like I'm sitting in there doing my business, whatever, you know, and that's a private
is this the
time.
toilet episode? Is this in the toilet episode?
No, I think this just led to,
okay,
you know, because we don't have to stay. I've got plenty of irrational fears.
I don't want
that's the
to be looked
segue
at in the gap either.
Yeah, like and it's not because I'm even worried about people looking at me. Like I'm like, I don't know why you would want to anyway, but that's whatever. It's the judging. I feel
you think somebody will judge your. You think somebody will? What if you lived your whole life going to the bathroom wrong,
right?
And somebody finally discovers it, and they're like,
"What is wrong with like?"
Are you sitting down?
Yeah.
Why are you facing that direction? Like you don't know because there isn't like a lesson about this. Right?
I mean, you're supposed to be
your parents or whoever just put you on a toilet, and they're just like. Do this thing, and then that's what you do. You don't know.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm thinking, have I been doing this wrong my whole life?
You could be showering wrong. You could be going to the bathroom incorrectly.
I could be doing so many things wrong because
watching you.
Exactly. And I don't want people to watch me at the same time, so that's why I say it's an irrational fear, because I shouldn't be afraid. It's my private time. Whatever, who cares?
What if you have been going to the bathroom wrong?
I mean, I wouldn't know.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
And that's fine with me, I guess.
I really want to know if...
You've been going to the bathroom?
Somebody has to have been going to the bathroom or washing or something wrong.
Probably. But okay, so that's an example of an irrational fear.
Right, you don't want the judgment.
The judgment. What about you? Do you have any irrational fears? Doesn't have to be related to the bathroom. That was just a good segue from the Three Seashells.
I don't want to have my eyeball poked out.
I think that's a rational fear, though.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. Irrational fears would be like, I'm afraid of... I'm afraid of pencils because they write too hard or something.
I don't like when people can hear me when I'm in a bathroom.
Okay, well that's fair.
I want there to be so much noise that it
overpowers everything.
Mine.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm making weird noises. I'm not in there making strange noises or like like a goblin or something.
Darko just goes into the restroom and then all of a sudden you just hear home on the range.
Yeah, like it's something. So I used to, when I was going into a restroom,
right,
and there were people that were outside of there, I'd be like, please don't listen to me when I'm in the restroom.
You would say that?
I would say that, yeah. Like, please don't listen. I don't want people to hear anything.
Right. Oh my gosh.
It's just this strange thing. You think about it, people like hundreds of thousands of years ago probably didn't care. They just went wherever. Like
I mean, yeah, that's why you had an outhouse, hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, but even before then.
Thousands of years ago, I don't think we were evolved enough to care.
Right. Whenever the first groups of people.
Who was the first person to develop shame?
Right. That's what it is. So then that evolved in that we need to kind of go and be behind something. But yeah, I don't want people to hear me at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a maybe not. It's a phobia. I would say as being heard.
I have lots of rational fears. My eyes being poked out.
Right.
The universe exploding.
That's a good one.
An airplane falling out of the sky that I was in.
I could see those as being like somewhat irrational because you have no control over the universe exploding.
That's true.
things like that. But at the same time, I could argue that they're rational because that is a legitimate fear. That's like an existential fear. Is like
I have lots of existential fears.
Oh yeah, like I'm convinced that like Lovecraftian monsters are real. Like, and one day they're just gonna like Cthulhu's just gonna come up from somewhere. Except I don't think he's gonna come up from the bottom of the ocean. I think he's just gonna come out of space. You know.
He just like shows up, just kind of like the like Alien, like Independence Day, the second movie, the Independence Day.
The giant like planet harvester or whatever.
It just like lands on the top of the Earth, and it's just like, all right, hey.
Which, I hit my mic. Legitimately, that would destroy the planet.
Yeah, I feel like you wouldn't really make it.
So that something that size, like, would disrupt the gravitational pull of the Earth. It would.
It seems like that might be a problem.
Yeah, like there's. We just. It doesn't matter that we won that battle. We're gone. Yeah, thanks. Bye, Earth. You know, like there's so much that doesn't make sense about that.
I don't want that to happen.
No, yeah.
I don't want an alien to put a gigantic spaceship on the North Pole.
Yeah,
and just sit there.
Or like, didn't they even do it like in the middle of the Atlantic in the movie?
I don't remember. I just remember seeing the scene where it was like clawed itself on.
Oh yeah,
and then they just started just like coming out of it.
Yeah,
and then the huge.
I have a friend in that movie.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. She's a stunt woman. She was doing stunts for a while before everything. But she was also like in the background, and she's one of the soldiers in the movie. And she's in a couple of scenes. Like I spotted her in the scene like where they're all getting briefed in like on their mission. She's in like one of the back rows, and then she's in the actual like she survives the battle inside the ship. And like has like a rifle in the background of one shot, and then like I guess her character like gets on one of the alien ships and they all fly out or whatever. Yeah,
that was a terrible movie.
It was so
bad. The first one was bad, but it was good bad. This one was
fun.
bad.
This one just it took all of like the lightheartedness and like was just it didn't run with it. It tried to make it too campy, whereas the other one was campy because of.
I felt like it was campy, but because they weren't trying to make it campy. It was just that they didn't do a good job.
Or yeah, because like the writing was whatever, and like but the effects work they really like dove into, and it was like this labor of love, and you could tell like.
The first one was.
Yeah, the first one. The first one was like it was you could tell they put some effort. They wanted to make a good movie. Yep. It just doesn't age well, and it was an effects-driven film, which was still kind of new, like the effects-driven blockbuster or whatever.
Which they actually looked pretty good at the time.
And the scenes of like the cities blowing up and stuff, because they used miniatures and stuff, and they built all those models, they still look fantastic.
Yeah, which also came out in 1996, by the way.
It did. We have a thing about 96 movies.
A lot of movies came out in 1996.
But yeah, like the second one. Resurgence or whatever, which there was supposed to be a third one, which I guess will never be made now, because they left it on that like cliffhanger of like now we're gonna go fight the aliens on their home turf.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate the fact that they brought back Brent Spiner. Like I love him as an actor, don't get me wrong, but like his character dies in the first one.
Hey, remember all of these people?
Yeah.
They're in the second movie. I thought he died. No, he's back.
He was in a coma, and yeah, it's just don't do that, filmmakers. Like as someone who works very small, like independently in that world, stop.
You want to hear some other movies that came out in 1996?
Sure.
Mars Attacks.
I thought that was earlier. Oh my God.
1996. I assume this list is right.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Remember Multiplicity with Michael Keaton?
Multiplicity. Oh my God.
He cloned himself.
Yes.
And then his clone cloned himself.
Yeah.
And he was like the dumb one.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God.
And they all like hung out.
Yeah.
With each other.
And it was, again, like an effects driven, ooh, we could put the same actor on screen 3 different times.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Cable Guy.
The Cable Guy is actually a good movie. Like
it's a really freaky movie.
Yeah, it's Jim Carrey funny in a creepy way, and I like it. Kingpin. Oh my God.
Black Sheep came out.
Black Sheep. Oh yeah.
That was the one. Was it the one where was Black Sheep where they were doing the political campaign for his brother?
Yeah.
And they sent him out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, because he's the black sheep of the family.
Right.
And then like they he still ends up somehow messing everything up, but then saving the day.
They save the day, yeah.
Because, it's Tommy Boy. It's,
not Joe's apartment. I don't know Joe's apartment, but Biodome.
Biodome. Oh, my God. Buddy. Oh, my God.
Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Really? I thought that came out after I thought that was early 2000s because that was after his fame with Titanic. I thought
1996.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's what it says.
Romeo plus Juliet.
Romeo plus Juliet.
Oh my God. Baz Luhrmann.
Twister.
Oh, my favorite Helen Hunt movie.
The Rock. Wow, The Rock came out
in 96?
96?
That one I believe. Like that one, it felt like it was like 96, 97.
Escape from L.A.
Escape from L.A. in 96. That looks way too dated to be 96. What?
Eraser. Remember Eraser? This is one of the movies I wanted to watch on our review was Eraser, where Arnold Schwarzenegger is he's a witness protection
96 wow.
agent, and there is some technology, people are dying, so him and another agent have to protect them, and then there's this like crazy railgun technology,
something like that,
and it requires like this backpack or like thing you have to hook onto you.
Yeah.
And it's huge and massive, and for some reason it also sees through walls.
Right. It's like it's not like thermal or anything. It just like can
it's actual X-ray.
Yeah, it's like X-ray, and like you can see behind, which they have now. Yeah, like in which is weird. Strange enough. I wanted to watch that one. I want to watch End of Days too.
End of Days.
That's
I've
99.
never seen. Oh, I have seen it, but it's been a long time.
Yeah,
since
that one was like the fear of the new year, but that's another Schwarzenegger film.
Is that like Hell is Being Unleashed or something like that?
The Devil Comes Up to it was 1999.
And there was like a priest in there that he's working with or something like that. Or am I thinking of a different movie?
Yes and no. There is a priest but basically like the devil comes up. He like there's a baby born. And then at 1999, that's going to be like, this lady's going to be fully grown, like an adult or whatever. And in 99, she's destined to become the bride of the devil. Like he's supposed to come up and like make a baby. It's really
nice.
Yeah. And
it's
like
always like the baby, like Ghostbusters did that too. Ghostbusters 2.
Like there's always a baby born. Yeah.
There's the evil, crazy devil baby, or that need to be converted into a devil baby.
Yeah, exactly. Become the host but that's the idea. And like, Schwarzenegger's just like a private eye or whatever who's like, family is like, is gone. And make that sound like family being gone is nothing.
Right.
But no, like, he's like, it's the Schwarzenegger type of stuff. And he like has to, he ends up like randomly ending up finding this girl and becoming like her protection or whatever. But like she's been raised by like an evil cult of devil worshippers her whole life. And
that sounds crazy.
It is.
I need to watch this.
It's crazy, but it's bad fun crazy.
Yeah, I always liked. I'm not like a super religious person at all, but
Sure.
I always loved that the subject material when movies or whatever or stories did the whole. Constantine or those kind of movies.
I love
they
Constantine.
use the material in a really interesting way. There's like this battle and they're in it fighting like devils and angels and stuff. And
Constantine is a good solo film for that character too. Mm-hmm. It's not a good Hellblazer film, but it's a good comic book movie. Like that's such a good movie. And I would love to see them do more with like that version of it too. I think there's a sequel coming out with Keanu Reeves too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I always thought that was cool, and I'm sad that I didn't see. That was a good Keanu Reeves character in that. It wasn't like the greatest acting in the world, or the story wasn't the greatest, whatever. But I thought that it was a really interesting character, and the way he did it was pretty fun.
You know that he's actually canon in the comics now? They make a reference in one of the Hellblazer comics, or Constantine the Hellblazer, whatever run.
Oh, it talks about him.
Yeah,
in it.
They basically talk about the multiverse, and so like Hellblazer, like John Constantine, like the comic, he's not Catholic. He's like all these different things, and he just kind of picks and chooses what he needs to based on their world. But he's basically talking about the multiverse at one point, and he just goes, "Yeah, there's even a version of me with dark hair and is like Catholic and lives in LA fighting demons."
Nice.
It's like this throwaway line, but they loved the movie so much, even though it's not like a good Hellblazer. They put him into the comics because it's a fun, good movie, and I agree with you. I love when when you take the religious tropes and you kind of try to flip them. I have a movie that I've written kind of like that. And it's like taking all these ideas, because like there's a lot of source material if you read like
there's like the whole Dante's Inferno thing, which is a great
right.
So there's a whole 7
like the 7 levels. And what I like to do is I like to take like all like the Judeo-Christian religions and put them like pick and choose things from each one, and then like I like for one of the characters I brought in stuff from like Hinduism and stuff like that, and it's like because I'm spiritual. I wouldn't call myself religious.
Right.
But I kind of believe that there's this idea that maybe like there's a little bit of truth in everything, right? Like, and I could get on a whole diatribe about that, but I won't. But like and so I feel like why just limit yourself to the one when you can have fun with all of them? As far as like from a creative process, why limit yourself to just like there's one way to believe in this, you know, and it's like, oh, you could literally make a world where like all of it's true.
Right.
Like all of it's got something right, all of it's got something wrong. And like what you like, but you could still be cheeky about what is true and what's not. Like I literally have a character in one, like they're like, oh, so like they're talking about God, like because in the movie like God exists, but like you never hear or see them, obviously. And they're like, oh, so God's a he, and then they just turn around and go, yeah, she is. Like, you know, and it's
right.
It's like, yeah, you play with it, and I love that movies do that, but I want them to do more too.
Yeah.
Like I want them to expand your horizons. Don't get caught up in just the one.
Yeah, Dogma was an interesting movie that had a good take, and kind of everybody had a character that kind of came down and interacted with each other and everything like that. It was I know some people are not big Kevin Smith fans, but I thought that was always an interesting way to take the material and kind of run with it.
Yeah, no, and I love Kevin Smith, and Dogma is great. I can see why my family didn't let me watch it till I was older.
Yeah.
You know, but like, yeah, I think that one also has a lot of great performances in it too. Like Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman was such a great actor.
I'm so sad because I discovered Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
So late. And
I
didn't really, and then he had passed away. So but then I went kind of back and watched a lot of his stuff, and it's awesome. Just like he does, I don't know what it is. Just like it's one of those things I want to watch him in everything. Mm-hmm. You know, the other one is Billy Bob Thornton. Is another one. Like, it's really, really good.
He's just a good actor, and he can like, they can kind of like chameleon themselves into a role. Like you kind of forget that you're watching Billy Bob Thornton.
Yep.
You're watching that character, and that's what I love about, like, that's good acting to me. If you can make me forget, like, that's why I don't like Tom Cruise films anymore. You know, like his older work, I get it, you know, it's good. But like the new stuff that he comes out, I'm just watching Tom Cruise be Tom Cruise.
There's some people that just do that. They're this themselves basically in that role.
Right.
And if it's on source material, you have to hopefully find somebody who acts like that in real life if that's how they act, because they're going to be themselves.
Exactly.
Which may not work. It may not work because it's going to be so far away from what they're basing it off of.
Right. That's why Interview with a Vampire is so good. Like those are good performances from two A-list actors. At the time, they were A-list, but they weren't like A-list. Yeah. They were like still they had to try, you know, and like
Philip Seymour Hoffman also is a good one.
Oh my God, yes.
That kind of molds into that role really well.
He did, yeah.
Or any of the roles.
Did you? Okay, he was nominated for an Oscar for his performance in Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah.
Because he's so good. But at the same, like around the exact same time that released, he also released a version where he played Truman Capote. And they are like so vastly different from each other as far as performances. And oh my God, they're amazing. Like going from, I think he did Capote first, and like he's like very soft, and he has like that, like he's got like a higher pitch to his voice, you know. And there's like this lilt to, you know, and very like effeminate in the way he portrays the character.
Yep.
To go from that to then just all of a sudden, if you don't give me the code, I'm going to put a bullet in this person's head, you know. Like it just, the flip, he's so good and he's so believable. I love it when an actor can do that.
Those are three that I want more movies from them, if it was possible.
Is Billy Bob Thornton
Billy Bob Thornton is
still alive, but I don't think he's acting
if they were still alive and making movies, all three of them, if they were more villains, they do
great villains. Yeah. Did you know Alan Rickman didn't start acting until he was 28?
No, I didn't know. I don't know anything about him really. I just know that I just know that I've seen him in it was funny because I didn't even realize that he was in Die Hard originally.
Oh yeah, he's Hans Gruber. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like a while back, I was just like looking into like what was he in? Oh, he's in Harry Potter, obviously.
Snape,
but he's in Die Hard.
He's in.
He's the bad guy or one of the bad guys in Robin Hood.
Yeah, he's the sheriff of Nottingham.
Yep.
In Prince of Thieves, and I think that was one of his first roles too. No, Die Hard was before that. Because Prince of Thieves came out in 90 and Die Hard came out in like the 80s.
91 was Prince of Thieves.
Yeah. And then like Die Hard was like 87, 88 or something. Which is
Kevin Costner, who, speaking of people who are themselves seemingly in many movies, Kevin Costner seems to be very close to that.
Yeah.
Like he seems like a nice guy and all that kind of stuff. And he has like a really laid back kind of role, I guess. But
yeah, but he seems like he's just Kevin Costner.
There's not a lot of depth.
If you're not in a Kevin Costner mood, we were talking about this on stream the other day because we ended up talking about Waterworld. Because I think that's an underrated movie.
I think Waterworld is an amazing movie.
Yes.
And people laugh at me, and there's so many people that hate it, but I will tell you, I love Waterworld. I think it's a great movie.
I think Waterworld is great because of the world.
Right.
I think the tattoo thing is totally stupid. Like, nobody ever thought to just flip this image around. Like, the tattoo thing is the biggest pitfall, but everything else in that movie is so like unique and like they've created this really cool world, and I'm just like, I want more of that. Like, I want somebody to remake Waterworld, but make it everything that it wanted to be, everything that it could have been.
You mean like the Ulysses cut?
Yes.
Have we talked about this on the podcast before?
I think we touched on it briefly, I think. But
how it was made. It was like all of the independent scenes ever released were then put into one gigantic cut.
Like 4-hour cut.
And it actually makes sense when you watch it. All of these scenes that should have been in it to make sense of the movie, although it would have been too long.
Right. It would have been like, because they had a thing about
3.5 4 hours, something like that. It was so, but it makes so many things make more sense that it's more enjoyable.
Right. But
and it still explains. I don't know if it explains the tattoo thing at all. I don't remember if it did or I don't think it does.
Why nobody decided to just look at this thing upside down?
Well, it just seems so weird. There's so many things, and then he gets in the. He gets. It doesn't really talk about a whole lot of things that you'd want to hear more about, like how did Kevin Costner become
the mutants
with the gills and all that.
Which that scene, oh my god, is so good. Like that the actor who like why like the way they approach that scene and like him looking behind his ear and stuff, and that's an interesting placement for gills too. Like that was a good special effect. Like I could rave about some like good things in that movie.
I don't know how they got so many materials too. Like where were all these materials coming from? Were they floating? Were just like the atolls? Or just a bunch of boats? They just tied each other together?
Yeah, I want to know more about like how the world became this way. Like I guess they kind of said
they had a really good CGI scene at the beginning that showed you clearly the ice cap just melted and then right up over everything else.
And I guess people had time to like build boats, And then, like, they've just kind of rotted over time and rusted for these cities, like these floating cities.
Because it would have melted. You would assume it melted slow enough that people slowly worked on. But why isn't there more stuff floating in the water?
Well, I guess if you think about, that's true. Why isn't there more just like debris or whatever?
It just seems like it's open waters.
Right. Well, I guess it's been long enough that these cities have been able to be built. Like that's another thing. That's another question. Because like if
all the plastic.
Yeah. Like where did all of that stuff go? But then like if we had time to build these floating structures and stuff, why didn't we build like actual floating cities? Like things with like engines keeping them up or whatever, or like
they didn't think about it. They were just like, well, I guess the water's gonna come up over my head.
Yeah,
let's just sit around and wait for it.
Yeah, and I love how there's like also no like speedboats Like, there's no. I don't think in that entire film you see anybody use like a hull of a speedboat or anything like to like build.
I think there's jet skis. And,
there are jet skis. Yeah.
I don't know about. I know there's other random like diesel powered boats and things like that.
Right.
But yeah, I don't.
You would also think that like giant cargo ships and like cruise ships would be like ripe for like cities.
If they're floating already,
get
water coming up should just raise them up.
Right.
So there should be gigantic boats everywhere.
Right. And so like I would think that like, if somebody ever remade Waterworld, like that could be it could be like that Peter Jackson movie that came out like a couple years ago, that like the moving cities, like Mortal Engines or something.
Oh, right.
I never saw it.
London was on wheels.
Yeah, and like it was eating other cities to like keep its materials going.
I don't want to watch that because I feel like the trailer is the best thing I will ever experience from that movie.
I've heard it's basically a very young adult, like once you get towards plot and everything. Like the idea is really cool, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so out there and it's so cool. And I think like you could do something kind of like that. Maybe not where like they literally eat the other cities or whatever, but like these giant, massive like cruise ships or whatever have like roped themselves together to form these like giant moving, like floating cities. Because I think gas would have been gone by the time that, so, but if they could stay afloat,
right?
And they constantly are building around them, and you could have like literally like this mecca of like kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Why are they moving?
Yeah.
Why are they moving? Do you know?
I think because they just float. They don't have like an anchor system.
No, but I thought the Mortal Engines, they were on wheels.
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea about that one. If you guys know, let us know in the comments.
Why don't they just stay in one place? Is it because they have to go find resources?
I think so.
But
like,
they can't send like a dude in a truck?
Yeah, because it's too vast, you know? And I guess because I think the smaller cities started moving. Like my logic would be the smaller cities started moving to like prevent raiders, and stuff. And then like they're like, oh, well, hey, you know what? We can do that too. Bigger cities are now eating little cities.
There's
a lot of like suspension of disbelief.
They can't upgrade the internet on a street.
Yeah.
In my neighborhood, but they're going to put a city on wheels and it's going to drive around.
Why don't we take Bikini Bottom and push it somewhere else?
Right. The amount of infrastructure and logistics for this whole thing seem very impossible.
I know, right?
And it's like existing stuff. It was existing stuff that got basically put up on, and they drive it.
I never saw it, but I guess
because they have to. If they're so concerned about resources, they can't just like leave a city behind and build a new one. They have to, or they just move it on. I don't know. All I know is trying to get somebody to like put up a new traffic light is impossible. It's like $50,000.
You need
and
Elon
it's
Musk.
7 months of work. And you need Elon Musk putting like satellites up in the air.
Yeah, that happened this week. Yeah,
but they're gonna put wheels on a city. And it's going to happen in a lifetime that they're driving it around and everything's like that now.
Yeah, exactly. And like there's just giant tread marks all over the earth.
You know what was a good post-apocalyptic movie, I thought, for the most part, was Priest.
Priest, yes, another comic book film that I think...
Is that Jarvis? Not Jarvis.
Yeah, it's Paul Bettany.
Yeah. Who was, he also played, after he was Jarvis, he was...
The Vision. Yeah,
but that was
and
the
in
same...
WandaVision, he's going to be playing them.
Yeah. That was like he was a really good part of that movie. He did a really fantastic job.
He has a history of movies like that too. Like I think like Paul Bettany, like, and I think that movie had a lot of potential. I think it, obviously like it was one of those ones that nobody had faith in because I think it ended up because I think that it ended up getting like a January or February release. And like there's parts of it that really are cool, but then there's parts that don't work.
May 2011.
Really? Oh my God, I'm so off
I saw it in theater.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it looked like it was going to be fun.
Yeah, and it is it's a fun film.
Yeah.
It just, I think it...
There's some 1984 kind of city situation, but it's more like a religious
version. Kind of, And then they had to like go. They were hunting vampires, basically. Yeah.
Carl Urban was in it.
Yeah, Carl Urban. He was like the main villain. He's another actor who is just a good chameleon. Like, you need to watch The Boys if you haven't already.
I haven't, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
And his character, I think you will get a kick out of.
Brad Dourif, by the way, was in it. Do you know who Brad Dourif?
That sounds familiar. Let me look up a picture of him real quick.
Here.
Oh, you've got one?
Yep. Oh, I can't show you this picture because it'll actually give it away. We talked about this movie not long ago.
I know this guy. I've seen his face so much. But what movie am I?
It was a sequel.
It's not. Oh my god!
He plays a serial killer.
A sequel with a serial killer.
He's the Gemini killer in.
The Gemini killer in I'm blanking.
Exorcist 3.
That's right. I just put that in my queue again because it
He
popped
did a
back
fantastic job in Exorcist 3. He was probably the best part of the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. I legitimately I saw that. It's on Amazon Prime right now. Mm-hmm. So I put it in my watch queue again because I want to watch it before Halloween.
That movie was awesome.
Oh my god, yes.
I think we may have also talked about this before, how it has one of the scariest scenes
the tension
ever.
building, yeah.
It's like a 5-minute long scene of just the nurse going up and down the hallway.
Yeah.
And there was these little kind of quick scares, but not really, and they kind of fake you out.
Yeah. And then the guy comes out of with the shears.
It doesn't show anything.
Yeah.
It just shows the guy
tense.
up behind really quickly with the shears, and then it just cuts away.
Yeah, you know what happens. And it's static. Because we were talking about long takes and how they automatically make you start paying attention.
And it's the funny thing is that you may know that's how that scene goes, but every single time it still catches you off guard.
Right.
Because you get really invested, like what's going to happen? When's it going to happen?
Yeah. You
see people just doing their normal daily stuff.
Yeah. And you almost you could time it out and it still gets you every time.
Yep.
It's have you seen the Man with No Name trilogy, the Clint Eastwood? It's A Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More and
The Good, the Bad,
and the Ugly. Yeah.
I've seen parts, but it's been so long that I don't really remember much of it. I need to go back and actually watch those.
So the ending standoff for A Few Dollars More and I think The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I think all three of them, honestly, the ending standoff is 5 minutes long, and it is literally just music playing and close-ups and the tension that it shouldn't work as you wouldn't think that the them just staring at each other is it's tense at all, because that's literally they're just standing there, pocket watch open, and it is the most tense scenes you will ever get because of the music that they're playing, the angles that they're choosing to shoot, the extreme close-ups, the little fidgets around the gun. You never know when it's gonna pop off, and then 5 minutes have passed, and then you're like, oh my god, and it happens, and it's over.
Yeah,
there's no drawn out gunfight. It's just over, and you're like, oh, I feel like I just ran a mile. Oh my god, that is such a good study in film.
They should. I don't know why, but I would love more Western movies with updated shooting technology, actors, and all that. Not shooting guns, but shooting cameras in film. And
310 to Yuma was one of the last ones that I remember. That one was a really good Western.
Yeah.
The
only one of the last few Western I saw, Bone Tomahawk, I would consider to be a Western.
As a Western, but it's also a horror movie.
It's a Western horror movie.
Yeah.
I guess a horror movie set in Western time,
which is really unique and I like. But that scene with the guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Somebody else when I was watching. Described it as a very dry movie because of everything seems so the visually it seems very dry in terms of just not dry humor or something like that, but the way everything looks is just very it's sandy,
arid,
and,
yeah.
But also the sounds are very there's not a lot of this liquidy kind of, when they
feel dehydrated watching it.
And then the other one that I remember, the only other recent Western, this is going to be really sad, was Cowboys versus Aliens.
That was shot at my school.
Wow. I'm sorry.
No, it's funny.
It's a weird movie.
I know a guy who worked on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said, you know how, very weird movie. You know how the aliens fly over a lot, and there's the shadows that fly over Harrison Ford and
That's right.
Harrison Ford, Daniel Craig, James Bond was in that movie.
I know Daniel Craig. I remember that was the big
star.
That was the big star. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way they shot that was like basically they had like 50 or 60 like grips like holding these ropes with these giant silks, like these big cloths that are stretched out in a frame, and they would like swing them over the actors to get the shadow the right. And it's not a CG effect; it's legitimate. But they were saying because of where they filmed in New Mexico, it was so windy that like these grips, like there'd be a line of grips with like 15 people on it on one, and like another like with another 15, like. The wind would blow and they would like the back guy would get kind of lifted up a little bit, like because like or the front guy. And they were like basically if we had let these things go, it would have cut Harrison Ford in half.
Jeez.
Because of how fast these things would whip around because of the wind.
Like Ghost Ship.
Exactly. That's another one we need to watch. Oh my God.
So Westerns are always interesting, but they're always older movies.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard to watch an older movie, especially if it's just, it's like trying to play Nintendo 64 games when they switch to 3D.
Yeah.
It's like that weird, awkward 3D point of graphics where the game is great, but it's really
so
hard.
Low quality.
Yeah. So some of those movies for me are tough and that's the most superficial thing.
I get it though.
It'd be cool to have them updated.
Yeah.
I also think that
I would love a modern Western.
Yeah, I want a Western where they all talk about how they smell and they wear the same clothes
every day,
day out.
That's another one of my irrational fears. Going back to that, it's like I always feel like I smell bad. Yeah. Like I am always afraid that I smell bad. I know I don't. Everything like
you know that you don't. Are you sure?
Well, like no. Sometimes I know I do because like I know I sweat. But like
everybody sweats.
Yeah, but like I'm sitting here like I feel like all like people can smell me from like down the hall or something like that, and I'm like
I can't smell you.
Yeah, and we're like a couple feet apart.
We're 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
COVID.
Yes. Even
6 feet.
6 feet. Stay safe.
But everybody, if you have a little bit of a smell to you, then you think that it is the worst thing in the world.
Exactly. And like I feel like, oh my God, everybody's gonna like hate me because I've been working. Like I can justify like I was like I smell bad because I've been lifting, like heavy stuff in the studio today or whatever.
Yeah.
Like every time it happens, like I could sit there and rationalize it in my brain, but I'm still like, everybody's gonna hate me. I smell bad. Oh my God. Everybody
I think my breath smells all the time.
It doesn't.
And I think the same thing. People are gonna hate me.
Yeah, it's weird. That's it's an irrational fear. But sorry, going back to Westerns, I agree. I would like to see an updated Western. The one that kind of gets the most recent for me, and it's more of an epic, not just a Western, is There Will Be Blood.
I've not actually seen this.
Daniel Day-Lewis, one of his best performances ever. That movie is so freaking good. It's about a guy who discovers oil in the West or whatever, and then it's like his life as an oil industry guy and like the pitfalls of finding oil in his like town and stuff. And it's a long movie. It's like 2.5 hours, and it's not like action packed every second.
Right.
But there's enough like big moments that happen that keep you sucked in. But the performance of Daniel Day-Lewis makes this thing fly by. Like every time I watch it, I'm like, I can't end there. I want more. Like, and it is like great performances all around. Paul Dano plays like a young priest, basically. Like he plays twins in the movie, and like one of his ones is like
the Olsen twin.
Kind of, yeah. They're one person,
right? Or no, he actually one person plays two people.
Like what's her name in The Parent Trap? Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, they.
That movie came out, I was about the same age.
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan was. I can't remember when it came out.
That was like early 2000. No,
because I think Lindsay Lohan and I are
about the same age.
Let's see.
Don't. She's 25 too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that came out. That came out in 96.
Really? Oh my God.
Sorry, 98. I'm sorry, 98.
I was about to say, we are like cursed with 96.
98. But Lindsay Lohan and I are similar age. So anyways, when that movie came out, The Parent Trap, I had the biggest crush on Lindsay Lohan.
Oh my God, yes.
I was like, oh my God, she's I want Lindsay Lohan to be my girlfriend.
Yeah, right?
She seems awesome and fun. And
I mean, heck, I did too.
Yeah.
I'm not much younger, we're about the same age.
And then things progressed, and I was like, I don't really want to do that to be my girlfriend.
I feel bad about that whole situation. Like, she's obviously got some like stuff she needs to work on, you know, and I think has been working on it, but like it took its toll. It's like Amanda Bynes too. Like it was the same thing. Like the Amanda Show was like
that was like the Amanda Show and all that was also
and again, I think she and I are about the same age, or you know, we're all about the same age, I should say.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, Amanda Bynes. Like, yeah, I was young and like, oh my God, this
big crush.
Yeah, big crush. And then like, what happened? Like, oh my God. Like,
what did happen? I don't know anything about what happened to Amanda Bynes.
She
off the rails?
I think she had a breakdown as well. I don't know the full story. Like, it's not like the
child actors.
Yeah.
It's rough. I can't imagine having to go through. It seems rough for a lot of people just to go through what is considered like a school normal, I guess, regular life. If you consider that to be regular, and then you have to do this whole actor thing, and then you're having to go get private lessons, school, and
or get taught on set. Like, the kid who played Angus T. Jones, the kid who played the son on 2.5 Men, like. I've seen how like he was schooled on set. He had to take classes for like 2 or 3 hours a day before he would go shoot during a season, and then so he was getting like private lessons there, and then they would withhold certain parts of the script from him. Yeah, because they didn't want him to get the dirty jokes and stuff like that, and. The minute he got off the show, and he like doesn't act in anything. He just pursues like, and yet he's still kind of got like some things like people kind of think that he's a little bit of a weirder guy, you know. And it's because he was like, as someone who's acted, as someone who works kind of in this industry, and I think you can kind of extend to this as well because you basically act, you know, as when you're on stream, like it is you, but it's more of
I don't know what you're talking about. This is me every day. Yeah. This is how I act. Not acting, this is how I am.
You are, okay.
I live it.
Well, you act for the videos.
I live.
That we make. So you're an actor, yeah.
That's me.
And as somebody who's just performing, let's put it that way, you're performing all the time, and you are working in a visual industry. Like, it is so stressful sometimes, and like it's like the Britney Spears thing that happened. You know, like everybody like. I remember people like, oh my God, she's gone crazy and stuff like that, and then I look at it now like through a lens, and I'm like, I kind of get it. Like
it's a really bad support parental system going on,
right?
And that didn't really help. And she's like, I think, what is it? It's theorized that she's being held essentially against her will.
Yeah, it's like she doesn't have access to her own money anymore,
or decisions and things like that.
Yeah,
so and parents definitely don't help in
that situation. But like, it's like the hair thing when she shaved her head. Like, I read an article and it's like, I actually think that's like actually her empowering herself in that moment, because like people are like, oh my God, she's gone crazy, she shaved her head. But like, she's like, I wanted people to stop touching me. Because they were always like, oh, we got to do your hair before we got to do this. And people wanted to like just touch. So she's like, fine, it's gone. Right. And she shaved her head. And I'm like, I get it. Like, it like, I mean, there are definitely things that, you know, obviously things that she needs to work on, like she needed help with, and she didn't have a good support network. But like, I find that moment, and I'm guilty of at the time, like because of how, you know, my age and like the information that was around me, I made jokes, you know, but like, now I'm sitting here like, yeah, no, go for it.
You never know the context sometimes at the time, or even...
And you're constantly getting information from other places, and if you're in a place where people are going to feed you certain information, like that's why it's so good to expand your horizons and not just take one person's word at face value. And like, obviously, like you and I, if you were to tell me something, I'd be like, I trust you because we're friends. We know each other. We've known each other for a while now. And, but like if somebody off the street just came up and was like, Darkosto likes to keep cheese between his feet, I'd be like,
you'd be like, oh, yeah, that sounds like him, actually.
Part of me would be like, that kind of makes sense, but I'd also do some research, you know? Like, and then find out if you were like on one of those websites where people like to like
put cheese between their feet.
Yeah, cheese. Yeah, what kind of cheese would you put between your toes?
Blue cheese, obviously.
Blue cheese? Oh, because stinky cheese, yeah.
Yeah.
That
makes
sense.
the most sense because...
I would think cream cheese. Because it's like lotion.
Really gross. That is gross. It's so like, ugh.
Yeah,
Ugh.
but it's like lotion, you know? Like blue cheese is crumbly.
Is it like lotion?
Not cottage
cheese like lotion.
Not cottage cheese that's got lumps and stuff, but cream cheese.
You reminded me. I have to take the ice cream home that I put my hands in. I put my hands in the ice cream.
Still in the freezer, yeah.
I have to warn people in the office to not eat
the
it
ice cream
unless they want to have something I put my hands physically in.
It doesn't taste bad.
I mean,
I haven't eaten it, but
it doesn't taste bad. But I'm also the one who put my fingers in it.
That's true, and then rubbed it on your face, all for TikTok.
Yep. I got a great movie though that we should watch for our movie review, our rebrew,
or the round table rebrew.
Round table rebrew. Yeah. This is gonna be. I feel like you're gonna be 100% on board with this.
Okay.
We should watch the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Heck yes. Gray will be in on this too. By the way, Gray wishes they could be here. Again, they've got some other stuff they've got to take care of today, some other work, so that's why they are absent. We miss them. But yes, no, Buffy the Vampire Slayer would be freaking amazing to watch.
That was with Christy Swanson back in 1992. That entire movie was just... Everything about it was just amazing,
and it just got better when they did the series. Like,
I've never seen the series.
Really?
Yeah,
you'd enjoy it.
Wasn't I don't know. I just never got into it. When I had a friend that our roommate that loved it.
Yeah,
and he had the whole series on DVD at the time.
Nice. I think you'd get a kick out of it. I think it's definitely dated. It's kind of like Charmed and stuff. Like,
and Luke Perry in it. His name was Pike.
Pike. Yep. Oh my God, there's so many people in that movie too.
Paul Rubens,
yeah. Who played like the teacher?
Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, that's right, Donald Sutherland. Yes. Oh my God, there's so many names in that movie, and like
David Arquette is in it.
Who does he play?
He plays Pike's friend Benny.
Oh my, the one who like floats outside the window is like, come on, man, I'm hungry or whatever. Yeah.
Like, come on, because he wants to get let in or something like that.
Yeah.
He's like, because they can't come in without being invited.
Right.
So he's like, come on, man, just let me in, I'm hungry. He's like, Benny, go home,
you're
man.
Floating outside of my second story window. This doesn't make sense.
He's just like looking out. He's like,
yeah.
Floating?
Yeah. That's such a tongue-in-cheek movie, too, and I love it. And yes, I would love to watch that. We got to find some horror-themed movies to watch, too, though. Maybe this could be our shout-out.
I guess it is a horror movie. I always thought it was more comedy horror, but less about being a horror movie.
Yeah.
Or that was like...
It was like a teen movie, but that happened to be about vampires. Yep. Yeah. But yeah, maybe this is our thing. Like, if you have movies that are older than like 2010, like, because I think we don't want to do anything
That's old.
We don't want to do anything within the last 10 years. But like, if you have anything from 2010 to like, let's say like 1970 to 2010.
Sure.
Like that range, like give us a shout out.
Before 2000.
I would think before 2002.
Yeah.
Not 2002 the year, but
also.
the year 2000. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun. This is kind of your shout out. Let us know in the comments down below for those watching on YouTube, or email us at theroasto@gmail.com. We are getting close to our timer. And I think that's a good segue into our good things for the week. So we can actually do what we said and try to keep these like getting shorter.
And going
2 hours long.
Yeah.
But do you have a good thing for this week? Or this last couple weeks?
I redesigned my office so it's not bright lights in my face all day. They got 6 lights that used to be bright in my face.
Right, just for that green screen.
Yeah. So now it's I rearranged things, so now it's a bit more relaxed.
I'm excited for the RGB control lights.
You can control my lights in my office through my chat on Twitch.
Right.
So we did that before, but now we can do it again, which is I'm excited for that. Yeah.
How did you set that up? It looks like a Nightbot setting.
There's a service that you can set up for. It just lives on your computer, and then it just connects to your
Bluetooth, your
light
Wi-Fi.
System. Yeah.
Okay,
and
that's
it's
awesome.
Just any light system, you just say do this, and then people can make a flash or do different colors and all that.
Nice.
So it's like a really silly but fun thing. People will just enjoy doing it.
That is fun. I like that idea, and I can't wait to do that one day while when I'm not live or whatever. And I can just like pop into your chat real quick, because I love to keep your chat or like your stream up.
Yep.
Like when I'm doing other things, like I may have the volume off or just very low, because it's just nice to tune in and like, because your community is great. Like I enjoy
agree.
the heck out of it.
Yeah.
And I am really like, it's what I hope that my community ends up becoming, because you have like a pretty large community of people.
Yeah.
We share some of that community, which is awesome. But like, mine's small but growing, and I hope that as it grows, we can continue to be and grow into something kind of like yours, because it's fun, it's playful. There's a little bit of trolling that happens every once in a while, but it always seems in good nature and good fun. So I'm excited for the possibility of that. I think my good thing for the week is probably we did the Minecraft podcast this last. It was, I only got to help out for one day again.
The marathon.
The marathon, yeah, not the podcast, the marathon, Minecraft marathon. But that happened, and
it was a lot of fun.
I got to. The first year that I helped, I was only there to help set up.
Yep.
And then this year, obviously, we're doing everything.
You flew all the way out to Chicago from Seattle to set up.
I was there to spy on a studio.
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to see the studio
nice.
and see how they were set up and see what we could do to compare.
I mean, it's always one of those things, like if you work in a studio or you do, whatever your environment is.
Yeah.
And if you're always curious.
Yeah,
not necessarily always think about it as like stealing, but it's like a funny thing to say, I'm going to steal.
Yeah.
But it's always cool if you're curious, because you always want to see how other people do things, because if they do things better or they do things differently.
I want to implement that,
or something that you can use because it only makes you better.
Exactly. And that's why like I would love, like, when all this is over, if people want to do studio tours or whatever and like see where some of this stuff goes, like, I mean, I have to clean the place up, but I would love to, like, I'm more than happy to do that. Because
I would love to. Sorry, I mean, I cut in your.
No, go ahead. I
would love to do tours of other studios, just like go find studios in the area and go walk around, and just see, hey, what's this look like,
And I think that always goes back to my thing of like, I'm very much a person who. I say this all the time, like on my stream, is like, I hate gatekeeping. And in this industry, there is a lot of it. Like, there are a lot of people who are saying, in film in general, and then this I think kind of extends to the streaming world too, is like there are a lot of people who are like, nope, figure it out for yourself. Nope, I'm not going to help you, that kind of thing.
I can understand both sides of this, by the way, because yes, on one hand, I guess I'm in the middle of this. On one hand, I can understand that sharing knowledge is important. It's definitely important.
Right.
We have books, and that's why they're so valued and important, all that kind of stuff. And but the thing is that I think a lot of people may necessarily, this is like what the difference between open and closed source coding and whatnot projects. Is it open source? Here it is. You can see what we're doing.
Right.
Versus closed, nobody can see. You don't know anything that's going on.
Right.
You reverse engineer it. But there is this especially in the streaming world, there's like this thing where you want to get a leg up, and if you keep your secrets to yourself, people think that they are able to have that thing that nobody else can have. That may be their thing to climb the ladder.
Sure, and I get that. Yeah, I mean more so of like people, like maybe this is more just like in the film world, but like for the longest time, it's like, oh, you got to know this certain person, or you have to know how to do things this way or that way, or like a lot of times there was just always this barrier. It's like every step of the way, it's people saying no, 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 until eventually somebody says yes. And I disagree with that model. I feel like when it comes to like editing and filmmaking and stuff, I'm like, there is so many voices that are like just dying to be heard, and there's so many people with ideas that, I get for like multi-million-dollar big budget pictures, sure, you gotta say no. You can't let everyone slide. But like, this is why, and this is a whole nother thing that I won't get into. It's like, this is why I miss the mid-budget movie, because like indie is $1 million and under nowadays. And that's because the mid-budget has gone away. Indie used to be like a couple $100,000 and under.
Right.
$1 million to $2 million was mid-budget, but that's gone now. You don't see movies like that anymore. And I feel like that's only added to this culture of no, whereas like people used to be more willing to say, you've got an idea.
Yeah.
It's a little rough. It could use some work, but we're willing to take that chance.
But they would give you money, and so this is the thing too. But this is why that system is probably a lot better, because in what we were talking about, was it Dawn of the Dead earlier?
Yeah.
Which was written by
George A. Romero.
Yeah. But it was like, it's not so much money that it was just like this ridiculously huge investment that meant multiple people at a table had to step in.
Yeah.
They were like, here's your budget, And then Romero was like, that's what the movie was.
It made you think creatively.
Yeah.
And that's why I missed the mid-budget, because it wasn't so much money that you could go crazy. It kept your directors and your writers and your people in a restriction. And if you went over that, that was your money at that point. You know,
Right.
like you couldn't do any more.
But those projects were good because they came from like a smaller group of people.
Mm-hmm.
They knew what they wanted. It wasn't people trying to come together and throw. I think this is to me like the DC movies. I don't like the DC movies, but it feels
They're
like
rough.
it was made by a bunch of people in a room that just were throwing in random ideas
Right.
into the pie. And you have something like Dawn of the Dead, which is, and there's a lot of movies like this.
Yeah.
But it was a person or a small group of people that knew what they wanted.
Right.
They didn't have to go to somebody each time and say, we're going to do this scene. They're like, no, you're not going to do this scene.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, that's why I miss that, because I feel like there's more people who need to say like yes. And I feel like studios are so afraid of failure now. It's all about the bottom line that that's why the mid-budget is gone.
Yeah.
And so like I that's why I say I hate gatekeeping, because whenever I'm editing on stream or I'm drawing on stream, it's like people ask me questions. Even if I don't know the answer, I will try to find it for you in a way, because I think these are skills that everybody should be able to learn. Like you should be able to learn how to use Premiere. It's a program you can buy. It shouldn't be an industry secret how to do that, or Photoshop or drawing, things like that. So that's a huge tangent from where we were, but
still, the
Minecraft marathon happened first year. I only got to go and help set up. This year, again, it wasn't the full marathon that I got to be a part of, but I got to be a part of the Lego segment, which was really fun to just be able to say that, oh yeah, I got to be a part of something that does something really great.
They raised $233,000.
Really? I didn't know what the final total was, but yeah, that's exciting. And I got to see the culmination of like a group of people who
beep, beep, beep.
beep, beep. Wow. It's my Oscars music, but just a group of people who come together for literally like a good cause, and that's it. Like,
yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful thing, and it happens. They do it twice a year, but the big one is usually around this time of the year.
Yeah,
where they normally come together in person,
right? Because we held it at the studio the year before I got here.
Yeah, so it's a great, awesome thing to be a part of. So I'm glad that I'm able to, even though
I was glad that we got to mess with Sevidus and Seth Bling together for a couple hours. That was fun, and so that I think that was my good thing. And then if I had a smaller thing, it would be that Halloween is this weekend.
Halloween.
And they're doing a pumpkin carving contest at my apartment complex.
Oh, cool.
So like you just leave it out and they're going to come around and judge. It's their first year doing it. So I'm like, yes, I'm carving my pumpkin.
Your pumpkin should be a replica of a bathroom stall, and they have to look at it through the little
through
gap.
The eye. Yeah,
and the pumpkin is making a face like it's being judged.
Yeah, like inside I just do a pumpkin figure of just like,
Yep.
There you go. Full circle. Any last thoughts before we head out?
Nope. No thoughts. I don't have any thoughts.
That's okay. We'll eventually get the Scarecrow a brain, and we'll get my Tin Man a heart. There we go. Well, other than that, I just want to say thank you everybody for listening. We have a blast every time we record these. Feel free to, we would love it if you share this with everybody, in your community. Give us a like on YouTube if you're watching it there, watching the animated version. Those are always so fun to put together. Leave us a comment. Let us know that you're liking it. Let us know, what you want to hear us talk about, because, we always have fun stuff that we want to talk about. We want to hear from you guys as well, because we like hearing from our community. We hit 200 downloads on the podcast.
Awesome. 200 downloads is awesome. That's a good, that's where we're making our way.
Yeah. We got that a couple days ago. I got the email, and it was over the weekend, so I wasn't able to tell you. So thank you for that. We're on our way. And this is episode 12, I think. Yep. So that's pretty good, I think. It's a good number, and we're just on our way. So remember, if you have questions, I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. You can always email us at theroasto@gmail.com. Love hearing from you guys. If you want to ask myself, Darkosto, or The Inevitable Grey any questions, we're we're pretty open books, I would say. You can also find Darkosto on social on Twitter at Darkosto TV, or you can of course find him 5 days a week over on twitch.tv/Darkosto. You can find myself mostly on Instagram at ImaginaryFriend_Jack, or I also am now on Twitch 3 days a week, typically Friday to Saturday, Sunday at twitch.tv/ImaginaryFriendJack. I've had a blast. We should be back next time. Gray should be with us, which would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Always miss Gray when they're not here. But yeah, that's it from me, Darkosto. This time I'm going to wait for you to say goodbye.
Space. Do you know space? What it smells like?
What does space smell like?
Seared steak.
I've heard that before from some astronaut, or interview with an astronaut.
You hang out with astronauts?
I do. Goodbye, everybody.
It smells like seared steak. Hot metal.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.